Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another week of Award Travel 101 Live. I'm your founder, Richard Kerr, and it is tough to not be incredibly excited tonight as we talk about one of my favorite destinations, one of my favorite topics really within the Points and Miles world, and that is the wonderful country of Japan. Hey, I've got Tony working in the background as always. Her job is much harder than mine. She's going to be commenting as Award Travel 101 with all kinds of links and information as we go through the night. As you're tuning in here, I love seeing in the comments where you're tuning in from. I already see some people from Orlando and from Texas where, yes, it's cold and the snow is on its way here down south in Georgia. Should be arriving any minute. And actually, Orlando, I'll be coming there this weekend as I head off on my next trip. Hey, Deb, it's good to see you as always. Let's talk about a few things going on in the group. While we are growing fast, we're approaching the magic 40,000 number. Why is 40,000 magic? I have no idea. It's just a nice big round number. And no events in person on the schedule right now. But I have something planned out on the West Coast where everybody says they don't get enough love. Hey, if you're new to the group, there are two things that I love besides Points and Miles. Number one is bourbon. Number two is anything gummy confectionery. So let me introduce the bourbon of the night. Tonight I am drinking bourbon cut with a little bit of water. Hold the bourbon for January. Georgia's finest tap water. Yes, I am skipping the bourbon in January. Trying to get a little bit healthier. You notice I trimmed the beard. I got some gel in the hair tonight. We're trying to make things a little bit more professional with my background music. So thanks for joining in. Remember, you can catch all of our videos anytime on demand on our YouTube channel. Tony, go ahead and share that link so everybody can subscribe to our YouTube channel and get all of this great information anytime on demand. That's right, we're the ATT-Uverse on demand of the Points and Miles world here at Award Travel 101. Let me tell you what, I hope that you have your pencils and your pens ready to go tonight because I have so much information and some people already say, hey Richard, you talk too fast. Well, I'm going to talk extra super fast tonight because there is a lot to cover when it comes to the country of Japan. All right, so we're going to start off by going through the airlines, how you get there, what points and miles are best for your flights to Japan. Then I'm going to cover a little bit about domestic travel. Hey, how should you get around? Everybody wants to take the train. Hey, Whitney, it's good to see you. But I think there are some better options, really, once you get that train experience out of the way. Then I'm going to talk about hotels in Japan, and hey, if I have points and miles, or even if I don't, where should you stay, and how should you pay for that hotel? And then we're going to go into my must-see attractions and really some itineraries that you have to go to, some things you may not know about if you're going to go and visit Japan. If you see me look over to my side just a little bit, my notes are here on a second monitor, so don't think I have a twitch or anything. I'm just trying to make sure I give you all the good information. Great to see some familiar faces. A lot of people interested in this week's topic, so I'm looking forward to sharing this information, and quite frankly, let's get down to it. So break out your pencils or your pens, your scratch piece of paper. Hey Jay, good to see you from Hawaii. Thanks for tuning in. I got some good stories about Hawaii and why I don't like Hawaii, specifically Honolulu and Oahu, but that's a story for another time. Michael, good to see you from DC. You and Ashley, they're tuning in every week. All right, flights to Japan. Everybody knows about Tokyo, and yes, you can fly pretty much from anywhere in the world that a plane can fly nonstop into Tokyo. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Don't forget about Tokyo Haneda, the other airport in Japan. It is my favorite airport in the world. A lot of people ask me that. Hey, what's your favorite airport? Tokyo Haneda, the international terminal there, is a wonderful experience. They've kind of built a restaurant and shop area into the old Edo Museum where it looks like a replica bamboo kind of deal. And the observation deck is fantastic, and you're right in the middle of Tokyo. I'm telling you, that approach coming in over Tokyo Bay, usually take a left turn right over Tokyo Disney Sea, and it looks like you're going to land in the water, and you're a 10-minute ride into the largest city in the world, and it is a fantastic experience. So when you're looking for flights to Japan with everything I'm talking about, don't forget Haneda Airport Code Hotel November Delta. When you want to fly, there are now nonstops from Los Angeles into Haneda. Everybody wants the landing slot. They're highly competitive. I think Delta and American now have landing slots back at Haneda. All right, so don't forget about it. And if you get a chance, go there. That's where all the domestic flights leave as well, which we're going to talk about in a second. So my first airline and points you need to know if you want to go visit Japan is ANA Mileage Club, all Nippon Airways. Nippon, of course, is how you say Japan in Japanese, which sadly my Japanese, boy, I tell you what, you don't use it for almost a year and a half, 2 years now since we left, and it just, right out there. But I'll tell you, I got to tell the story, okay? Really quick, indulge me. One of my favorite stories. I got off a flight in Los Angeles last summer. It was a red-eye flight. It was about midnight. I was staying at a Holiday Inn for like 5 hours before catching my flight back to the East Coast. I jump on a bus as the Holiday Inn Express bus is leaving the airport. I flag it down. I jump on there. I'm super tired. I just flew back from Australia. And as soon as I get on the bus, I look around and I'm surrounded by 45 middle to older age Japanese women. I can tell by their suitcases and the luggage tags all say ANA. And real quick, I spun around as they were all kind of quiet and staring at this big white dude that just jumped up. I introduced myself, said konbanwa, watashi wa Richardo Kasan, hajime mashite, and I tell you what, those ladies lost their cotton picking minds when this big white dude spoke Japanese and said what's up. On that plane, we talked for a few minutes. I got off at the Holiday Inn. They were going to the Holiday Inn Express, and when I left the bus, I got a standing ovation from the 45 Japanese women. And that's how I got off a Holiday Inn Express bus to a standing ovation in Los Angeles at midnight. So, love it. Love the Japanese people. They're so friendly. But on Nippon Airways Mileage Club, listen to this, all right? They break their flights down into 3 seasons. Based on the date that you fly, you have a low, a regular, and a high season. When you fly during those dates, it's going to cost you a different amount of miles. You want to go during the low season, which in 2018 is right now until February 28th, and then April 1st to the 25th, right? If you want to fly a round trip on ANA metal using ANA miles, which you can transfer from American Express, listen to these prices. Economy is $45,000 round trip from anywhere in the U.S. They fly to New York, several flights, Chicago, Houston, Los Angeles, Seattle, San Jose, San Francisco. $45,000 round trip in economy, $80,000 round trip in business. $80,000 round trip in business during the low season on ANA metal, one of the most pleasant flights you're ever going to take. All right, that's low season. Regular season, $55,000 round trip in Y, only $90,000 round trip in business, $60,000 in high season, and $95,000 round trip in business. Tony's going to share the link to where you can read more about this on the ANA website. But I'm telling you, that's ridiculous. 80,000 American Express points to fly round trip from New York to Tokyo, and ANA business on a 777-300 or their new Dreamliners. Done deal, right? If you want to fly in economy with the family, their own program availability is pretty good. $45,000, ridiculous, great deal. So look at the ANA Mileage Club. Tony put that link up for me. Moving right along, American Miles. So everybody says, American Miles are terrible. I don't want to collect them. Well, remember, you can use those to fly any of the One World partners, which conveniently Japan Airlines is a One World partner. We're going to talk about them a couple times tonight. So ANA Miles, if you want to fly Japan Airlines, anywhere that they fly in the U.S. over to Tokyo, or if you want to fly Cathay Pacific with a stopover in Hong Kong on the way up, you can use American Miles. It's going to cost $35,000 one-way in economy, $60,000 one-way in business, or $80,000 one-way in first. Flown Japan Airlines first a couple times. Japan Airlines business class on their 777-300 ER extended range is my favorite business class in the sky. They fly something called a Sky Suite, extremely private. Everybody has aisle access, even though it's 232. The people in the middle, they're staggered, so that even if you're in the middle seat, you can get out without getting the other person's quite literal suite. And it's just business class. Tony's going to share the link to that chart so you can look about it. And it's just a wonderful ride. So 60,000 American miles for Japan Airlines business class one way, or 30,000 in economy, 80,000 for first. Don't forget with Japan Airlines, they fly to San Diego, SAN, to Narita. It's on a Dreamliner. A lot of people forget about that route, and because of that, it has pretty great availability. So anybody in Southern California, or if you can get to Southern California and you want to get over to Tokyo, San Diego, to Narita nonstop on Japan Airlines, 35,000 American miles in economy, 60,000 in business. Right along to Korean. Wow, man, we're going to be going long tonight. So much information. Korean, remember, Chase Partner, really easy to get a lot of Korean miles because you can get any of the Chase Ultimate Rewards earning cards, transfer them right over to Korean. Remember, you got to register your family members now with Korean. If you're not familiar with the Korean family program, you have to prove your family relationship by submitting documents. And you don't want to try and book last-minute tickets and not have your wife, spouse, or kids registered so you can redeem their miles for them, so make sure you do that. Tony's going to put the link up to this award chart. During the off-peak days, which is actually most of the year, the peak days are not too bad, but you can read about it in the link that Tony's going to put up. Off-peak round trip, 70,000. This is, of course, connecting in Seoul. So anywhere Korean flies from the U.S., Atlanta, New York, Chicago, Houston or Dallas, and then all the California cities. 70,000 round trip, 125,000 round trip in their business, 160,000 round trip in their first class. I will tell you, not all Korean metal is created equal. You got 777-300s, you got 777-200s, you have 747-8i Intercontinentals, and you got A380s. There's no rhyme or reason. When Korean puts one of those planes on the routes, and they're subject to change, so you kind of got to cross those fingers and hope you get that 747-8 or the A380. But again, great prices to fly round trip over to Tokyo, and of course you can do a stopover in Seoul. So 2 trips for the price of one. 70,000 round trip in economy. Very, very pleasant flight, especially on the A380. No complaints. All right, Virgin Atlantic. I did an entire video about this 2 weeks ago. You can use Virgin Atlantic miles to fly Delta for practically nothing, including Delta One. So Atlanta to Tokyo, I showed in my video, Delta One to 240,000 sky miles for Delta One, Atlanta to Tokyo nonstop. Uno way. That's Spanish for one. Uno. You can use 60,000 Virgin Atlantic miles and $5.60 to fly that exact same flight if you find availability. So save 180,000 points each way. That's not a mistake. It's 180,000 each way, and use 60,000 Virgin Atlantic flights to fly Delta over to Japan. Absolutely ridiculous. Oh, that bourbon's good. All right, from Virgin Atlantic, we go on to United. So easy to get United miles. Credit all your United flights there. Get the United credit cards. Get the Chase credit cards. Still very reasonably priced. $35,000 one way and Y from North America, or $70,000 in business class on United metal. If you want to fly a partner like ANA using United, it's going to be $80,000 one way. So think about that real quick. 80,000 round trip ANA miles transfer from Amex in business, or 80,000 United one way. Using United miles to fly ANA. So you obviously want to try and get that ANA miles, and you want to get that ANA availability. If you can't get American Express points to transfer over, you can't get SPG to transfer over to ANA, then you want to go ahead and use United miles. So a lot of great options to get over there. It's not difficult. There's so many flights a day. Even if you got to connect in Seoul or Beijing or Hong Kong or Taiwan to get there, it's just really easy. But those are some of my favorite ways. If I was going to fly today to go back, I routinely flew ANA first in business class, routinely flew Japan Airlines first in business class, flew American Airlines first one time, and I said, nope, that's it. Japanese carriers just blow them out of the water. It's such a pleasant experience. I highly recommend going one of those routes. Hey, remember, Tony is in the background moderating. She's throwing up questions all the time here on my moderating document. If you have a question at any time, please ask, and I will be sure to get to it. So I'm going to take a quick gander at what we got already. Jeffrey says, hey, are there any tricks to finding 2 first-class seats on Japan Airlines? Hey, there aren't any tricks to finding any of these availabilities or patterns. You just straight got to get lucky. Now, Japan Airlines will occasionally release 2 first-class seats. More than likely, it's only 1, especially coming from the States back to Japan. Japan back to the States, availability is a little bit more open. Andrew says, I was looking at ANA's award availability for 2019. Looks like available times are getting dramatically decreased. So the flight schedule is barely into 2019, so I'm not really sure how you're already looking at that, unless they release their schedule 2 years out, which I don't think anybody does. Christopher says, hey, do you need a positioning flight to get to one of their departures? How about flying China via Japan? So if you don't live in Boston or New York or Chicago or Houston, yeah, you're obviously going to need a positioning flight to get to that city. Many times you can tag it on for no extra miles because ANA is region-based just like United, so it should be no extra miles to position. Christina says, how would you rate Japan Airlines business class? I just said that. If you jumped in Japan Airlines business class, 777-300 is my absolute favorite business class flying in the sky. All right, let's go on from airlines into domestic transport in Japan. So you made it to Japan, you've got your airline, you've got your wonderful flight that you didn't pay for but use miles. How should you get around? The 2 options, train, plane. You have to do the train once. You got to do the Shinkansen, the bullet train. Now, they're very expensive. The way around that is called the Japan Airlines Rail Pass. Quick Google will bring up the main page. As long as you're a foreigner residing outside of Japan on a temporary tourist passport stamp, you're eligible to buy a 7, 14, or 21-day Japan Airlines Rail Pass, which is good for any JR, which stands for Japan Rail, JR Bullet Train, Limited Express, Express Rapid, local trains, plus the bus, plus the Miyajima ferry, which we're going to talk about shortly. Really great way to do it. It just makes you set it and forget it. You know that you can get on a train at the airport and get to wherever you need to go. You get on a bullet train and go around for a week or 2 weeks. Kind of set it and forget it. Now, the other option to that is domestic flights, right? So I think everybody needs to do the bullet train once. You got to have that experience. You got to be looking out the window, going 170, 200 kilometers an hour. Really fast on a train. It's pretty neat, but it is expensive. It can be convenient, but I don't like being locked into the train card, especially if I want to go up north to Hokkaido, which means you have to cross the water. And yeah, Japan Rail Pass. Yeah, sorry. Same to me thing. Japan Rail Pass, JAL Rail Pass. I like flying domestically. So here's the thing about flying domestically in Japan. You can get to the gate 20 minutes before departure time. They're going to board an entire 777-300 that they have flying the 30 or 45 minute flight. And you can book every single one of them for 4,500 abios. So getting to Haneda Airport in Tokyo is super easy, not any more difficult than getting to Tokyo Rail Station to jump on a bullet train. They have a flight leaving every 30 minutes between every major city, and it is fun. I'm telling you, the flight attendants are lovely, the people are lovely, it is so efficient, it's always on time, and you can go anywhere every 30 minutes as if you were taking the train, and it's just 4,500 abios to go from Tokyo to anywhere in the main islands, and I loved it. I did it all the time. I probably redeemed 30 or 35 Avios tickets on Japan Airlines, of course, because they're One World partners, and it was just such a fun experience. You don't have to get to the airport more than 30 minutes before the flight. Security is nothing. I'm telling you, it is great. You got to do it. Take the train once, and then look at those Japan Airlines flights for 4,500 Avios, which you can redeem right on BritishAirways.com. I love it. So here's the thing about Japan. Driving, the traffic's terrible. There's no room for roads, right? If you do get a rental car, tolls are very expensive. You got to have tons of yen on you all the time because of all the tolls. If you ever drive in Japan, don't go anywhere without a 10,000 yen note or roughly $100 in your pocket. Most of the tolls don't take credit cards. Credit cards are difficult to use in Japan still. And you don't want to get caught at a toll without cash in your pocket. There's almost no Uber. There's Uber Black in Tokyo, at least there was when I left, but the cars were, very sparse. It's very expensive. Cabs are very expensive. You can really take the subway and the local trains, no matter where you are in Japan, pretty much anywhere you want to go. There's no need to take a cab or an Uber. Jump on a train. They run all the time. They're exactly on time. Lovely app called Hyperdia, Hyperdia. It has all of the local train schedules down to the minute, tells you exactly what train to get on, which platform most of the time. Hyperdia app is a must. Something called a Passmo card, Passmo. It's a plastic card, looks just like a credit card. You simply tap it on the gate to get in and out of the train station. You can go to a reload machine, which you can push the English button and put the cash in and reload your Passmo card. No keeping up with paper tickets or anything, and then you can use that in every major metropolitan area in Japan. So once you land at the airport, get a Passmo card, get the Hyperdia app. Make sure you check your connectivity before going to Japan because it's a little bit funky compared to everywhere else in the world. It's not as simple, depending on which service you use here in the States, to just get the international plan. And once you have the Hyperdia app and you got a Passmo card, hey, the world's at your fingertips there. Or I guess I should say Japan's at your fingertips. Yeah, somebody just asked about landing in Narita. Narita Airport is really far outside of Tokyo. You can either take a Limousine Bus or you can take the Narita Express train. The Narita Express leaves from the basement. All you got to do is come out of customs and baggage claim and take the escalator right down. Get a Narita Express ticket to Tokyo Station. Lovely train rides if you're first jump into the Japanese train system. It can be absolutely fantastic. Way to do it. The Limousine Bus is also equally as nice. Traffic can be pretty terrible sometimes trying to get from Narita into Tokyo, so I just always skipped it and took the train so I didn't have to worry about it. The good news is if you do get stuck in traffic, hey, the Limousine Bus has a bathroom, so don't worry about jet lag or any bad plane food. You're covered even if you're on the bus. So that's domestic transport in Japan. The JAL Rail Pass, good deal if you want to take the trains everywhere. I love flying domestically in Japan. It is such a fun experience. Being on a 777-300 that they load and unload in 10 minutes and you fly for a 45-minute flight. Such a fun time. I miss it so much. All right, so that's how we get around domestically in Japan. Tony's writing down all the questions. I'm seeing them pop up. Don't worry, I'm going to come back and catch them, but I want to go into hotels, right? So we're going to talk about points and miles hotels, obviously, and the places I would go and visit once again, and some of the places I did visit and absolutely loved it. Allison says a good point there. You got to have cash for reloading all the train cards. Cash in Japan, right? Great tip. Cash, cash, cash. So if you have a U.S. debit card, you can once again go into 7-Eleven convenience stores in Japan, use their ATMs, or you can use a Japan Post ATM, so any Japan post office, and those are the two places to get cash. You don't want to go anywhere without cash. A lot of people say that, oh no, they're taking credit cards now, Japan's caught up with the rest of the world. I'm telling you, I lived there 2013 to 2016. A lot of places do not take cards. You gotta have cash. So sorry, you gotta forego those points for a week or however long you're over there. A lot of the best restaurants don't take cash. Don't take cards, so make sure you got that cash in your pocket. So hotels, right? I'm a Hyatt guy. If you know that, follow in the group. I love Hyatt. Here's the Hyatt rundown for Japan. It's lovely. There's not a bad Hyatt property in Japan, and they just added another one in Okinawa. So in Tokyo, I'm going to tell you, skip the Park Hyatt. Sorry, some of you might love it. It's in need of renovation. I think they finally realized that, and they do have a renovation schedule now. But if I'm going to spend 30,000 Hyatt points a night, it's not going to be at the Park Hyatt Tokyo. They have something called Twilight Tea there, where you can go and pay, I think, 3,000 yen per person, $30, and it's unlimited drinks and appetizers up in the Park Hyatt Tokyo bar. So you can say you've been there and visited, and it's not a bad deal for Tokyo to get appetizers and drinks for only $30. It's called Twilight Tea. I think you can Google it. It'll show up on the website. So if you want to go to the Park Hyatt, then that's the way to do it. One of my favorite hotels and redemptions is the Hyatt Regency in Tokyo. 12,000 points a night. It routinely goes for $300 or $400 a night. You can walk to one of the most major train stations in Tokyo and quickly get anywhere. And it's just 12,000 points a night. If I was going to go back to Tokyo, I might try the Andaz for one night, which just opened my last year I was there, but I would probably go back to the Hyatt Regency. Always treated very well, excellent club lounge, great breakfast, super easy to get over the train station and go anywhere, and it's just absolutely lovely. Grand Hyatt in Roppongi is also great. You're not going to go wrong there. Hyatt Regency Kyoto, you can walk everywhere in Kyoto from the Hyatt Regency there. The breakfast is absolutely knocked out of the world at the Hyatt Regency Kyoto. Again, not very, I think it was 12 or 15,000 points a night. Remember, transfer from Chase. Pretty much nothing. Loved it, right? So you got the Hyatt Regency Osaka as well. A little bit out of the downtown area, but still well within reach with the train. Super cheap. I think it was like a category 2. You're not going to go wrong. And then the last Hyatt I visited, which they just opened, is down in Okinawa, right in the middle of the city, Hyatt Regency Naha. Again, fantastic. You can walk to the main tourist street. Lovely area to walk around. Here's what you got to do in Japan. You got your sightseeing all done through the day. You're going to go here, you're going to go do there, you go all that. Look, leave your evenings open. Here's what to do in Japan in the evenings. You get a hotel that's pretty close to things, like pretty much any of the Hyatts, and then you just go out and you walk. You go out and you stop in the first little corner place that you see that has 4 tables and is the size of my palm. Where they walk in, the big American guy doesn't fit. So you start talking to people. Yeah, they speak English, especially in the big cities. If they don't, they want to practice their English. They're curious about what you're doing there. And you just let the night happen, right? Somebody's going to buy you a beer. You're going to buy somebody a beer. You're going to try new food that's fantastic. The guy and gal next to you is not going to speak a word of English, but 2 hours later, you're going to be best buddies. And you just have a great, fantastic time. Have cash in your pocket and just leave your evenings like that, right? This is what you do, and you have a wonderful time. In 3 years, it never let me down. I got out, I walked, ended up sitting down at a lovely restaurant, tried some ridiculously local regional cuisine wherever I was in the country, and we had a great time doing that. So that's what you do in Japan, right? So real quick, some of the top point hotels that you need to look at. If you have Marriott points and you're diehard Marriott, the new Courtyard Marriott Tokyo Station sounds exactly like it's named, is right next to Tokyo Station. Incredible location, really convenient, and brand new. So check that hotel out as well. If you're going up to Sapporo and Hokkaido, which I'm going to be talking about in a little bit, there is a Marriott Sapporo. I stayed there 3 or 4 times. That's where all the baseball teams stay. You can easily walk across the bridge into downtown. Great point redemption lounge up there. And remember, all the lounges internationally have free alcohol as well during happy hour, so really fantastic. Hey, Choice Hotels does not get enough love, but if you're going over to Tokyo, if you're going to Japan, you need to look at the Choice hotel chains. It's like 8,000 points a night. Remember, you can transfer from American Express to Choice. Tony's going to put up a link to the new Comfort Hotel Tokyo Kanda. This is, again, right next to Tokyo Station, out of this world location. Everything else around there is crazy expensive. It's 8,000 Choice points a night. That's nothing. 8,000 American Express points to be a block from Tokyo Station that Tony's going to put up to click. All right, so Choice hotels, and that pretty much goes for the whole country as well. Hilton, I didn't find any Hilton properties that I absolutely loved in the country. They wanted a lot of points. The Tokyo Hilton is perfectly fine. It's just up the street from the Hyatt Regency. Again, small rooms, old school hotel. Didn't really see anything that just knocked me out of the water as far as Hilton was concerned. There is one place called the Hilton Odawa, Odawara, which is a little bit outside of Tokyo. We're going to talk about in a second. The Hilton Odawa Resort is probably worth a look. And then the Hilton Niseko Village. This is the one Hilton in in Japan that I always recommend. It is all the way up north, right outside of Sapporo. If you go during the winter, it's a ski-in, ski-out lodge. Like literally the tram to the mountain comes into the lobby of the Hilton Niseko. When I went, it was only like 20,000 points a night. In peak ski season, it was going for like $800 or $900 a night. They have some lovely, lovely hot tubs, which is a mainstay in Japan that you can sit in outside and look at the snow. Hilton Niseko Village, Niseko. Do not forget about that. Hey, Ben, stealing my thunder. I'm going to talk about Hakone in just a second. All right, so Hilton Odawa, Hilton Niseko Village, all the way up north. Remember, Tokyo to Sapporo, it's like a 45-minute flight. Really expensive during the winter. Japan Airlines 4,500 Avios. Super easy. Haneda Airport. Get over to New Chitose Airport. Forget how you pronounce that. And then you take the train into Sapporo. You get up to the mountains. Just, man, you can't beat that experience. Just fantastic. And then outsized points value, making all of this practically nothing. All right, so moving on to IHG, 3 Intercontinental properties in the Tokyo region. All 3 are absolutely fantastic. I'm going to go with the Intercontinental Tokyo Bay for location. My moderator, John Hartnagel, is headed over there, and I relooked at these, and based on the location of the Intercontinentals, Intercontinental Tokyo Bay is going to be my recommendation. It's not far from Tokyo Station, a couple stops down on another local line. But you're not going to go wrong with any of the Intercontinentals. I do recommend that you kind of skip any of the other IHG properties inside of Japan. Yeah, somebody just popped up and said, Hyatt sounds great. It sounds like something I should start using. Yeah, everywhere in the world. Too bad they're not everywhere because they're so small, but everywhere they are, I absolutely love them. All right, so that is IHG. Hey, and then last but not least, we can't skip it, the local ryokans and the Airbnb properties and the traditional Japanese hotel experience. You have to do it for a couple nights. If you just Google ryokan, Ryokan, there are going to be more results than you could ever think of. But I have an Airbnb that I want to share. It is in the Fuji 5 Lakes area. So Tokyo, not far over to the west, is Mount Fuji. At the base of Mount Fuji, they call it the Fuji 5 Lakes. You have to take a 2-day trip up to the Fuji 5 Lakes area. Tony's going to put the link to this Airbnb that we stayed at, and you can actually see my review. And I'm telling you, it's not luxurious by any means. It's really cold during the winter because just like all traditional Japanese lodging, there's no insulation or anything, but it is a one-of-a-kind cultural experience, not to be missed, and it's like $24 a night. It's the perfect location. You need a rental car to get up there and to go around the area, but it's the perfect quite home base, but also the base of Mount Fuji. Like you walk in the backyard of this place, and there it is. You drive around, see all the shrines, see all the little towns, see all the lakes and everything. It's called the Fuji 5 Lakes area, and there's the link I see that Tony just shared. Go check it out. Just those are the experiences that you go to Japan for, right? Dude barely speaks English. He's cooking some food. You have no idea what it is. You're not sure if it's a public shower or bathroom or what's going on. There's some other people from every other Asian country staying in these guest rooms. You're sleeping on the little mats. But we still talk about it to this day. I mean, it is just absolutely wonderful. So don't forget about those kinds of places. Some of them can get quite expensive, quite pricey, but the experience that you're going to have, and typically they include breakfast. Now, breakfast might be traditional Japanese breakfast of some miso soup and fish, but hey, It's a great story to tell. All right, so from the lodging, we're going to go into some of my must-see because, wow, it is already exactly 9:30, and I haven't even hit my must-see areas yet. And I have a ton of questions as well. It's okay, Tony, I know you're going to say we're going over, but I'm sorry, we're going over tonight because this is Japan, and we're passionate about it. All right, scribble your notes. We're going to go fast. Tokyo, must-see. Tokyo Edo Museum, EDO. You got to see it. Sumo, if there's a sumo match going on, you have to see the sumo match. You can do anything in the world at a Japanese convenience store, 7-Eleven, buy tickets, buy plane tickets, buy whatever, pay your bills. We paid rent, all this stuff. So you go to a 7-Eleven and buy sumo tickets. Baseball, go to a baseball game. If you hate baseball, Japanese baseball is not like American baseball. Number one, half the crowd is women. Number two, all of the people in the crowd, the men and the women, know their chants. They separate the home and away crowds so they don't get too rowdy. It's BYOB. You can bring in your own backpack full of beer. You stamp your hands, so when you're out of beer in the fourth inning, you walk out of the stadium, you go across the street to 7-Eleven, you reload the backpack with your beer, and you come back in, and you're having a great time again. So go to a baseball game. There are 3 teams in Tokyo. One of my missions was to go to every single Japanese professional baseball stadium in the country. I missed out on 2, but some great stories about Japanese baseball. The Tokyo Skytree, huge tower, really impressive. Go to the top of it. It's worth the money. Akihabara is the name of the electronics region. Yeah, the Japanese stereotypes live up to what you think they are. The electronics are there. Tsukiji Fish Market, Tsukijii. Asakusa is Old Tokyo. It is right next to the Skytree. You need to go to Asakusa, Asakusa. Imperial Palace, got to do that. The Ueno Zoo, you would have no idea the zoo is so massive. Right in the middle of Tokyo. It makes like there's no sense. Okonomiyaki, yeah. Allison's talking about okonomiyaki. It is one of my favorite Osaka okonomiyaki. It's like a Japanese pancake made with all kinds of different stuff that you throw in on the grill. The House of Okonomiyaki in Hiroshima. Oh man, you guys got to watch this replay. I'm throwing out too much stuff. Roppongi. You're going to see some crazy things in Roppongi. If you want to go party, if you want to stay up until 5 in the morning in the Club Raven with all the Japanese, you want to go to Roppongi. Hey, Disney. We could spend an entire series going over Tokyo Disney. Tokyo Disney Sea, S-E-A, like the sea, ocean, is the most expensive theme park ever built. It is built on reclaimed land in Tokyo Bay. You got to go check this park out. Not particularly a Disney nut, but it was super impressive. And then being in Disney with all the Japanese who lose their cotton-picking minds about Disney, we're in that park with you, and you got to see some of that stuff. And then I talked about the Fuji 5 Lakes. So that's all of Tokyo. Let's go to the surrounding area. There's an area called Hakone, Hakone. There's a Hyatt Regency Hakone. You got to go stay there. And then you got to take the cable car up to the top of the mountain. And then you got to take the ropeway over the hot springs in the volcano and get down and see where they boil the eggs in the volcanic water and they come out black, and then everybody eats these black eggs. And you go down the ropeway to a lake, and they got this old pirate ship in Japan. I'm telling you, just the craziest stuff, right? You get out of the ropeway, you take the pirate ship to the city that is only reachable by this lake. There's not connected with any roads, and it's a little tourist town that's got the craziest restaurant and purple ice cream. Hakone, Hakone. You got to go do that. Odawara, I talked about that. And then you can go up to Nagano where the Olympics were, 1998 Winter Olympics, and see the snow monkeys and the skiing. It's just an easy bullet train ride up from the Tokyo area. So go check out Nagano. Hey, going all the way up north to Hokkaido. This is where Sapporo is. So the Sapporo Snow Festival in February. We went there. If you want to see the big 4 or 5 story ice sculptures, like 4 or 5 building story ice sculptures, and then go skiing up there. In the Hilton Niseko Village, remember 4,500 abios redeemed on Japan Airlines. All kinds of outdoor activities during the spring and summer, whitewater rafting, hiking, camping. And then they have the Nippon Ham Fighters in the Sapporo Dome, really popular baseball team. So we had a friend that hooked us up with some tickets down there. We got to go on the field for the game. Really fantastic. Lots to do up there in Sapporo and Hokkaido. All right, Osaka, Kyoto, Hiroshima, Miyajima. So basically one conglomerate right in the middle of the main island of Japan. You go to Osaka. It's like a 45, 30-minute flight from Tokyo, but things are so different. Tokyo is not unfriendly, but Osaka is extremely, extremely friendly. Everybody wants to talk to you. Everybody wants to practice their English. It's so different. Like in Tokyo, you stand on the left side of the escalator and you walk on the right side. You take a 30-minute flight, and now in Osaka, we stand on the right side and we walk on the left side. It just gives you a comparison of the different cultures between these two cities, and I loved it. The food in Osaka is wonderful. They have Universal Studios. They've got history. Kyoto, the ancient capital of Japan, speaks for itself. You can go and spend 2 or 3 days there and just see some incredible things. But you can visit Kyoto from Osaka with a quick train ride. Hiroshima is not far from there, a quick bullet train ride. And then Miyajima, the place where, the deity of Japan, or their equivalent of God, was born and lived. It's this island where the huge torii gate that you've probably seen out in the water, and then during low tide the water recedes, and that's when you can go and walk underneath it. All of that, use Osaka as your home base and check it all out, right? So, and then finally Okinawa, you got to go to the Hawaii of Japan. Japanese love Okinawa. It's a quick flight down from Tokyo, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. Amazing Ritz-Carlton, amazing beaches, amazing hiking, waterfalls, tropics. It really is just like Hawaii. The World War II history on Okinawa, the Battle of Okinawa and the invasion. You could spend a week doing historical sites around there and seeing some really incredible and sobering and somber sites. The caverns that they have there, the cliffs where the Japanese generals jumped off and killed themselves. I mean, it just goes on and on, right? And then Naha, N-A-H-A, is the capital of Okinawa. You got to go and check out Naha City. Just the main tourist drag there and restaurants. They have their own culture of Okinawa. Huge American military presence. I went down there all the time for work. Just really interesting dynamics going on the island of Okinawa. All right, so north to south, we've got it covered. A lot of tips and information in here. I'm going to scroll up, and I'm afraid to look at all of these questions. A lot of people asking about the best season to visit and what the weather is like in the summertime. I get this question all the time. Here's my answer, and it is honestly true. There is no bad time and no right time to visit Japan. You're going to get to experience all of these wonderful things, and it doesn't really matter. Does it get hot in the summer? Yeah. Does it get cold in the winter? Yeah, it does. Can you go to Okinawa when it's warm all the time? Sure you can. Can you go up north to Hokkaido in the summer and it's nice, seasonally cool? Sure you can. People can shoot for cherry blossom season, but it varies every year by weeks depending on the weather. So you could plan all of this stuff and then you're going to miss it anyways. You can just hope you get lucky. There is not a bad time to go and visit Japan. How long would I stay there? If you're really interested in all the things I just said, 3 days in Tokyo, 3 days in Hokkaido, 3 days in Osaka, 3 days in Okinawa. So you're looking at 12 days. I would make a solid 2 weeks, but 12 days should give you 3 days in each of those areas, and you're really going to get to see and experience a whole lot of it. All right. So Carlos says, what about late night public transportation in Tokyo? So the trains do shut down about midnight or 1, so it doesn't go as late as a lot of places. That's when you got to jump in the cab. That's really your only option if you're going to be out later than 1 a.m. is to hop in a cab. Heather's asking about light baggage on the domestic flights. No, from what I recall, I was able to check a bag just like anywhere else, 35 pounds or so, and I was never given a hard time about it. Jimmy and Sandra. Hey, you guys know that Facebook accounts are free. You can create 2 accounts. You don't have to have 1 account. What's the best onsen near Tokyo? I'm looking for a private hot spring with more nature instead of city. You need to go to Hakone, H-A-K-O-N-E. It is an easy, what they call romance car right away. It's a limited express train. Only going to make a couple stops from Tokyo all the way out to Hakone. And you get on this awesome mountain switchback, and it is just onsen world. There's a million out there. If you just Google Hakone onsens, you're going to find 10 or 15 things that just really strike your knowledge. Eileen says, is it worth buying Ambassador if you're planning to stay at a bunch of Intercontinentals? Sure. If you're going to stay at a bunch of them, then you might as well do it. But I would look for Royal Ambassador rather than just Ambassador. Rita asks, is the Hilton Odawa good or not? You said you'd say more about it. Worth a visit or no? So that area is worth a visit, and I only heard good things about the Hilton Odawa. I just went around the outside of it. I never stayed. I was always more interested in staying in Hakone. But everything I heard in the area around it sounds like it's absolutely lovely. Hey, that is a lot of questions and a lot of information. I know a few people were asking, is this going to be available for replay? Yes, all of our videos are available for replay anytime on our YouTube channel, which we have a short link to, or you can just Google YouTube Award Travel 101, and you're going to find it right there. That's a 45-minute video, and it's going really long. Tony, do I have anything else I missed? Any last-minute questions? Wasn't interested in Japan before this year. Excitement is contagious is on the list. That is what I like to hear. And, we can't go all night with DJ Kerr taking you home on the midnight train talking Japan. That's enough of that. Hey, only a couple weeks left, and I'll be back on the bourbon. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and Tony for working hard as always in the background. We're going to catch you anytime. A lot going on in the group. Like always, we're going really fast. We got a ton of information. Make sure you check out the pinned announcements now. We have announcements at the top of the group. No longer a pinned post. Got all of our rules there if you want to get a post approved. And remember, if you don't want to submit a post, you can ask us a question live on Thursday nights during our bourbon and Q&A, 1 hour, 9 p.m. Eastern time. We're all here all the time. My moderators, we're going to answer all of your questions rapid fire, 1 hour, Thursdays at 9 p.m. Until then, we will catch you next time. I'm not sure what's going to happen next week because I'm back on vacation. Is Japan kid-friendly? Incredibly kid-friendly. So much to do with your kids. Do not leave them at home. So until next time, thanks for tuning in. Always fun.